Walls of blinding rain and roaring wind thundered across South Carolina's Midlands late Friday, transforming an otherwise ordinary afternoon into a scene worthy of a disaster film. In less time than it takes to brew a cup of coffee, placid neighborhoods near Swansea were shredded by gale-force gusts. Trees that had shaded front yards for decades cracked like dry twigs, dragging power lines to the pavement in a sparking tangle of copper and oak. Highway 6 vanished beneath a canopy of splintered limbs, while Highway 21 became a serpentine obstacle course, littered with roof shingles and sheets of mangled tin. Across Calhoun County, deputies radioed reports of debris blanketing Highway 601. A lone farmhouse stood gutted on one side of the road, its porch torn away, furniture scattered across a freshly planted field that now resembled a junkyard. In St. Matthews, a massive pecan tree keeled over with a groan, carving a crater in a front lawn and leaving a family's living room sofa exposed to the elements like an abandoned stage set. At the height of the onslaught, nearly 9,000 Lexington County customers groped through darkness. Phone screens were the only light, as frightened residents tracked the National Weather Service feed for the next warning polygon. Calhoun and Clarendon counties fared little better. More than 5,000 outages blinked onto utility dashboards within minutes of each other, plunging rural crossroads into a night that arrived hours too early. Linemen rolling from substation to substation found whole spans of wire wrapped around toppled pines, every transformer buzzing like a wasp nest before sizzling out, while emergency managers in Columbia plotted damage paths on wet maps. A second storm cell charged east toward the Grand Strand. It cleared the Intracoastal Waterway just after 7 in the evening, dragging curtains of rain that erased the skyline of Myrtle Beach and sent carnival-colored beach umbrellas cartwheeling across Ocean Boulevard. Tents erected for the coming Carolina Country Music Fest snapped at their anchor ropes, the festival banner flapping against vacant metal trusses like distress flags. Inside Myrtle Beach International Airport, a gate arm broke free, smashing into the wing of a regional jet idling at the concourse. Passengers felt the jolt reverberate through the fuselage, followed by an anxious hush broken only by the hiss of rain on aluminum. Miraculously, no one was hurt. Horry County dispatch phones lit up with overlapping pleas. A tree across Middle Ridge Avenue, utility lines writhing on Tilly Swamp Road, a garage roof pancaked onto parked cars in the Palmetto Point apartments. Nearly 10,000 meters spun themselves into silence. The Carolina Forest neighborhood, usually ablaze with porch lights and neon restaurant signs, became an ink-black swath on the outage map. Crews waded through ankle-deep runoff to cut tangled lines, chainsaws flashing arcs of orange in the strobing lightning. Far to the northwest, as dawn broke over Kentucky's bluegrass, devastation had already taken its toll. A supercell riding the left front quadrant of a fast-moving low-pressure wave spawned a violent vortex near the rural community of Mackville, an EF2 tornado with winds strong enough to heave pickup trucks like toys and peel asphalt from county roads. The roar lasted barely 2 minutes, yet when the funnel lifted, it left a scar of mangled barns, snapped hardwoods, and a cluster of homes reduced to knee-high rubble. One resident did not survive. 20 neighbors nursed injuries that ranged from lacerations to broken bones. Search teams, some still bandaged from storms earlier in the month, picked through fields strewn with pink insulation and family photographs fluttering in rain-soaked grass.
Looks like they lost part of their roof.
Hospitals in Danville activated mass casualty protocols, lining corridors with extra gurneys and calling off-duty nurses as ambulances rattled down country lanes. Kentucky, already bruised by dozens of tornadoes this year, added another tragic mark to the ledger. The state's 20th tornado death of 2025 and the nation's 63rd. Even Florida could not escape the sprawling wrath of this weather complex. Late-day commuters east of Jacksonville watched in disbelief as a gray column condensed beside State Road 9B, wobbling across lanes in full view of traffic cameras. The Twister's touchdown was brief but dramatic. Roadside signs were plucked from posts, palms sheared of their fronds, and power poles tilted like half-felled matchsticks before the vortex dissolved into ragged curtains of rain. No injuries were reported, yet neighborhoods in St. Johns County spent the evening stepping around live wires and corralling yard furniture found blocks from home. By sunrise Saturday, the storms had sprinted off the Atlantic seaboard, leaving behind an eerie calm broken only by chainsaws, generators, and the distant whoomp-whoomp of National Guard helicopters surveying flood-soaked farmland. Utility crews from 3 states worked in rotating 12-hour shifts, replacing poles, restringing wire, and clearing debris from county roads so relief convoys could reach the hardest-hit pockets. In church fellowship halls from Lexington to Mackville, volunteers ladled soup into styrofoam cups for neighbors who had lost kitchens, while children colored thank you cards for firefighters who had guided them, flashlight in hand, through a night they will recount for years. Meteorologists cautioned that although the atmosphere had spent its fury for now, the ground remained saturated and root systems compromised. Another round of gusts, even modest ones, could topple still-standing trees. Residents were urged to photograph damage for insurance before mold set in, to keep phones charged, and to heed every watch and warning as the warm season storm track settles in for the long summer stretch. From uprooted pines on Highway 601 to a scarred runway in Myrtle Beach, from a battered hamlet in Kentucky's rolling hills to a startled commuter corridor outside Jacksonville, this multi-state outbreak served as a sobering reminder. When the sky decides to unleash its power, miles of asphalt and hours of warning sometimes aren't enough. Yet, amid the splintered timbers and darkened streets, stories of survival and solidarity glow brighter than any street lamp. The quiet heroism of first responders, linemen, hospital staff, and countless neighbors who ran chainsaws, moved limbs, and shared generators until every last light flickered back to life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.